Japanese baseball games all over my desk.
Coming out of every orifice.
Yeah.
Is there a better LED color than just blue?
No. Absolutely not.
That is the absolute best color to use on, like, anything. Everything else just looks like garbage, I think, most of the time.
I wouldn't go that far, but...
what I like about that monitor is that it has...
everything.
Well, we don't know what the lag's like on it, so we can't...
I don't care, dude.
But, I like the arm that it uses.
Yeah, and it's just, I think it's like a regular VESA arm, like, you can use it, because the arm just comes with it, and then you can use it for other things.
Yeah, just in case people aren't seeing. Is that okay, you think?
Yeah, I think it's fine, yeah. But, I posted a picture on Twitter anyways, so, like...
Oh, just now? Oh, you did the other day.
Ago. Yeah.
But you could post this.
Yeah. People were asking, like, on Twitter, though, like, oh, like, can you, what if you tried to display, like, 4.3 content on it,
Yeah.
Because, like, you could plug a game console into it or whatever, or,
Right. Well, I'd be really curious to see how that shows. Like, if you feed it, like, 960p, what would it do? Would it letterbox it on top and bottom?
Well, I would think it would have to, right?
Yeah, it would have to, but I'd be curious to see if it would do that, because that might be...
and then somebody was asking, I don't see how you can do this, though, because I'd have to look in the software inside the monitor. But because, if you flip this 90 degrees, it's pretty close to 4.3, right?
right.
Not exact, but it's pretty close.
It's close enough, yeah. I mean...
And so if you could have that be a giant 4.3, but I don't know what kind of scale that would...
Is vertical, it's like normal... layout, you think?
That the way it is now is like standard.
Okay.
So I don't even know if it has an option to rotate. I know, like, in Windows, obviously, I think you can just rotate a screen 90 degrees if you want, but you can't do that with a game console. So
yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where you're at, because once again, I just feel like I'm showing up and I have, like, just tons of stuff to talk about. But
that's good. That's good. I have some stuff, but you never know where things
I don't want to
go.
feel like I'm taking over. Like, if you, my point in saying that is I want to make sure if you have stuff that we talk about your stuff.
Oh, I'll get to it. I'll interject it.
Can I say how I appreciate the fact that you're standing up?
Yeah,
it's just a better frame. It just looks. This looks good. I like it.
Yeah.
I wish I could do
agree.
it. I don't like the fact that I'm sitting particularly, but.
I think I just need to do this more. I was really inspired by your multicam recording of the Big Six video that you did. So I've been, like, working on a way that I could do something, and now I'm kind of thinking, like, maybe I should just do it standing up. I could do it standing up. I could present to this camera.
Yeah.
And I had this other arm here that you can't really see, but I'm like
there.
messing around with, like, using it as, like, an overhead straight down.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
And I can just, like, pull it in and out. I can pull it, like, out when I need it.
Yeah.
But I've, like, set it up where I could use it sitting also. And, to get a different background. I've had this, and my daughter's been using it to put, like, her toys on.
Yeah.
But I have, like, this big piece of wood here.
Yeah.
It's like a countertop.
Yeah, that would look. And you're saying you could just put that on
I
your
could
desk.
put that on my riser. Yeah.
Yeah, that would look nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want it to look exactly like yours, but I feel like it would look exactly like yours.
Well, imitation.
It's not intentional.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I would rather be the imitatee than the imitator. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of that, and so I think that I've been talking about doing this Anbernic video, and I thought I bricked it last week.
Yeah, can you please tell everybody what you did, because I think it's pretty funny.
I
only say that
because
it's the kind of thing I would do, so I'm not no judgment.
Well, I don't feel so bad about it because I was talking to Dustin. I work with Dustin. Dustin's worked in video for years and years and years, and he's like, that's kind of stuff's got to happen all the time. So I accidentally fed it. I wanted to record audio while I was shooting video overhead of it, and I ran it directly into my mixer, And like the closest thing I had laying around was this XLR to 3.5 millimeter adapter. And I was like, I just plugged that in, and I forgot that I was sending phantom power for this microphone.
Yeah.
So,
you sent
it was fine.
48 volts into the Anbernic.
And it was fine. It was fine. And then I was like, oh, there's like a hiss. Like maybe I need to like reseat the plug. So I pulled it out really quick and plugged it back in, and it was like, bloop.
Oh, that's
what killed it.
Wow.
You know, it was like the removing of the current and then jamming it back in.
Yeah.
So I was afraid that it was bricked, and I went as far as actually like ordering another one because this was sent as a review unit, and I sent them an email like into the ether.
Do you mind
probably.
holding it up, or is this a secret until you make the video?
So,
all right, so
I sent an email probably into the ether of like Anbernic because, you know, I don't really know much about this company.
I don't know anything about them.
And the thing is that they have released, they've been around, like the research that I did, they've been around since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they've released at least like well over 100 different portables at this point, probably.
That's like, what kind of staff do they have like designing stuff over there, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's just so many different versions of this. So, I mean, I sent an email saying like I was sent this review unit. I didn't explain why.
Yeah.
It stopped working. But I sent this email into the ether, and who knows, like if anybody ever saw it to their contact number.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna buy another one.
Uh-huh.
Because, like I like it. It's not something that I would choose to play games on seriously.
Yeah.
But it's really great to just throw in like a backpack, or like if I had this thing when I lived in New York, I would use it constantly.
Yeah.
Where I'm using it to just test out a bunch of different things just for like research or whatever, like if I want to play a game to find out more about it or get an idea for something. Like it's great for that. But I would never sit there and like play games, like I'm going to play beginning to end, like play this game beginning to end, for real. I'm
planning on, at some point I'm going to make that video about the analog pocket, and I'm definitely going to compare it, That's got to be part of the video, because, you can make a pretty compelling case.
Well, you can.
For these Anbernic devices over something like the pocket.
Right. I mean, the pocket, the main thing, the FPGA is the big selling point for me. See, and I talk about this, like, the way I'm going to do the video is I'm going to pitch the video as like an ad-lib video, but I have a page and a half of like scripted overview stuff that I'm going to put, produce that. And then it's going to be like, hey, I'm going to try a bunch of games on this, and we're going to see how it goes. And if there's something I don't know, then I'm going to try and figure it out. And then I will like, I'll pause the recording and I'll figure it out. And I'll say like, okay, so the way to get like integer scaling is by doing this.
Yeah.
Like if somebody wants like a deep dive on this thing, like there is like way better channels for it. Like that retro game core channel like does tons and tons of stuff on just like these kind of devices. Yeah. And I would never be able to compete with something like that. And I don't want to.
Right.
I want to look at it as something as I can just pull out, play, just on a whim, and then, put it away. The thing is that I don't have a ton of experience with like RetroArch and like Emulation Station.
Yeah, same.
And a lot of that stuff is, there's like so many options.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like about the Pocket is that like there's options.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, all right, you choose the game and it plays like approximately to original hardware, and like that's it. Even though like I have a really complicated setup, one of the things I like about FPGAs and like real hardware is it's like at its base it's relatively simple. But with something like this, there's like so many like little things that can, like might like make one game run better than another in whatever situation. It's like I've got enough stuff to like think about every day that I can't think like, oh, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to spend a day figuring out how to play it like on this hardware, like as close to the original system as possible.
Yeah.
And it's just like I don't want to do that.
You just want the Ron Popeil set it and forget it kind of.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, especially considering that like the like the channel that we do we get into a lot of the stuff for like real hardware because that's all the stuff that you can use in addition to your original system.
Yeah.
Or like mods or whatever. Like that's its own. Like there's a lot of people out there that would say like I don't want to bother with that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Are you still running like just a base original stock firmware or whatever on that thing?
So I'm using the stock firmware because I updated to the most recent version.
Yeah.
And like based on what I saw, there's like so many different things like the Black Seraph in like firmware, like there's all this other stuff you can do. And I updated to the most recent one, which came out in January. I updated that like over the weekend. And I mean, from what I saw, like it's like generally pretty good for what it needs to do. So
I mean, there's that channel. I think it's Retro Dodo. I think is the channel where like
Retro Dodo. I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, now I'm hoping I'm not saying the wrong name, but I mean, basically that it's the guy's whole channel is he does like emulation handhelds. I mean, he did a video about the Pocket as well, which is still just an emulation handheld, but he did a video. I have the RG351 MP, which is very close to what you have, but it's not exactly the same. But he did a whole video about this.
This is a 353M.
Yeah, so maybe that's a little bit newer then. But he did a whole video about this one particular firmware or whatever that you can put on the one that I have. And it just makes it so much like perfect.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's like a whole other like thing to get into. Like you got to spend time to figure that out. And like that's just not... That's why I'm not doing this as like an official like full-on episode. It's not like... like you look at something like we did like a nearly 3-hour video on the Mister last year.
Yeah.
And that was just like barely scratching the surface of that. I mean, something like this, like...
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not telling you that because I think you should have it in your video. I'm just giving, it's more of just a personal recommendation. Like I'm just saying, like, I think that firmware is way better than the stock one. And it's just like, I put it on there and I got everything just set up the way I wanted it. And then that's it. There's no more.
Right.
Like now I just pick up the device like I would anything else and pick my game and play it.
Right.
That's all.
And like that's something that like maybe I would come back to in the future, but for now I'm just going to use what I got on here.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit I spent a lot of time setting that thing up.
Yeah, so. And I think that's kind of true for like RetroPie stuff in general.
Yeah.
Like you got to, make a lot of tweaks and you can, just change certain settings to get like what you want out of it. And I want it to be like as close to the original systems as possible. I don't want any borders. I mean, that's what I like about the 4:3 screen. I don't want any of the borders. I mean, occasionally like the shaders are cool.
Yeah,
but
I don't mess with that stuff. But I was talking more about like using like scraper software to download all the metadata and artwork for all the games and everything. So but again, I just I like doing stuff like that. I had fun setting the whole thing up. Because anyway,
I definitely understand that. But for me, like when it comes to the menu, like I just want to choose system. I just want a list. I don't need like the game details or videos or whatever. Yeah. Like I just, I just put my folders that I put on my EverDrive like on the SD card. And that's one of the things I do like about it is I like that it has 2 SD card slots. Does the one you have? You have 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I like being able to just have one that's just games.
That's what I did. Because like one of them has the operating system and whatnot. And so the other one, I think mine came with 2 SD cards, and I think I just took out SD card number 2 and just threw it out basically because like I put a 400 gig SD card in mine, because I've got all the Sega CD games and PC Engine CD games and whatnot, and so I'm not using all the space, but I'm using an awful lot of it.
I mean, I have a 256 in here, and like it's as much as I need, especially since I have a lot of the CD games compressed the .chd file already, so
chud files we call them.
Chuds, yeah.
Yes, chuds. Let's make chuds a thing.
Chud.
Yeah. All right. So the first thing I wanted to bring up
is that you're listening to episode 20 of Here's My
Exactly.
Question
Yes.
For You.
Thank you. You're listening to episode 20 of Here's My Question For You. Here's my statement for you.
Okay.
I already felt this way, and then something happened to a friend of mine recently that just cemented my attitude about this. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I know that, and probably the same thing for you, like, people, when I say things, people have a tendency to listen a little bit more. Like, oh wow, that Classic Gaming Quarterly guy says this. Maybe there's some truth to that. Just because we have YouTube channels and audiences and whatnot. So I'm saying it to the audience: never ever sell anything of value on eBay. Like, I have a couple boxes full of stuff that I don't want. I sold a lot of it on Twitter, like just directly to people. Some of it I just took to video game stores and traded it in, because like I just will not sell stuff on eBay because I don't think that it's safe anymore. Like, I'll buy stuff on eBay. eBay's very good at protecting buyers, but they do it at the expense of properly protecting sellers. So, and I'll just tell you sort of the semi-specifics of what happened, just to give you an idea of this is why I will not sell stuff on eBay, especially because, you get a game like Bad News Baseball here, and this is like a $400 Famicom game. No, it's not, but let's just pretend for a second that this is like a $400 Famicom game, right? It's like a $5 Famicom game in reality. Let's say you have that and you're like, I want to sell this and I want to extract maximum value out of it, right? Because I want to sell this for $400 because I want to turn around and I want to go buy like a digital PS5 or something, right? So how are you going to do that? You're going to go to eBay and you're going to sell it on eBay so you can extract maximum value, right? So here's what happened to a friend of mine. He was selling off. He went through, like we all do sometimes, and sort of thinned out his collection. Like, here's stuff I just don't play anymore. I'm not really interested in owning it anymore. And he listed it all on eBay. And I remember when he did that, just because I'm already paranoid about that kind of thing, I was kind of nervous for him. Like, oh man, because he was listing a lot of high dollar stuff. And so a couple of weeks ago, one of the games that he had listed that I'm trying to be a little bit vague to not like identify the who and the what, but it was a $500 game about, and it sold. Like, the person did the buy it now and bought the game, and he sends the guy the game. The guy sends him a message like a week later, says, "Hey man, this game doesn't work." Now, my friend has the pictures in the listing. There's detailed pictures of the game, and it was just the game and the manual. It didn't have the box, but detailed pictures. Here's the game. Here's the manual. Here's a picture of the game running on original hardware, showing that it works, right? So this guy sends a message through eBay, "Hey, this game doesn't work." And, my friend knows, he's like, the game works just fine. Like, he's probably thinking that maybe the guy's having buyer's remorse or something. Yeah. But like, whatever, right? So he just says, he goes through the eBay system to send the guy a shipping label so he can, because he just says, fine, just return the game and I'll give you a refund, right? Sends the guy a shipping label. The guy sends back like some, he sends him back a game from the same console. Like, he sends him back a Famicom game and a Famicom manual, but it's some shovelware game and shovelware manual, because he did this switcheroo on him, right? Yeah. So then my friend goes into eBay and like opens up a case or whatever to say like, hey, this guy screwed me, right? And this happened. So where I live, this happened during my lunch hour that he told me that he had opened the case with eBay, right?
Okay. Yeah.
By the time I got home from work that day, this guy hangs out in my Discord. Like, he's a friend of mine, but he hangs out in my Discord. So I'm saying that's why I'm getting all this real-time information from him. By the time I got home that day, eBay had already decided in the buyer's favor and said, we think that this is legit. They took the $500 back out of my friend's bank account. Like, they just, because, eBay doesn't use PayPal anymore, right? So like, he had his bank account, hooked up to his eBay account. So eBay reaches into my friend's bank account, pulls out $500 and gives it back to the buyer. So now the buyer has his expensive video game and has his $500.
And there's nothing he can do about it.
Well, so he appealed.
Yeah.
And then he had to like print out some kind of like legally binding affidavit, like swearing that he didn't get back the item that he sent and like signing it, maybe had to have it notarized. I'm not sure about that part. And sent that into eBay. And then eBay went ahead and gave my friend his $500 back.
Right.
But he's not allowed like it says, because he showed me the email that he got from eBay saying, oh, your appeal is successful. We'll give you back your $500. It even says in there, any feedback left for this transaction has now been deleted. So like if my friend had left negative feedback to say, hey, everybody, this guy had over 1,200 feedback and it was 100% positive, right?
Yeah.
Like my friend could have left feedback and said, hey, this guy scammed me. Nope, gone. And this guy also sells stuff on eBay. So
that's why he has like probably good feedback, is because he's doing all this stuff and it gets like whatever negative feedback is left, then it just gets deleted anyways.
Right. Wow, I mean, that's I mean, he basically tried to steal over $500 from my friend. Like that's grand theft, is it not?
I mean,
and there's not even a way to warn other people on eBay by leaving feedback for that. They just decided, oh, we're just going to make it like the transaction never happened.
Yeah.
And it's like this guy's account didn't get suspended because I can still see the items he has for sale.
Dang. So I wonder if he's like he's probably just going to resell this thing probably.
Yeah. And that's the only thing eBay said is like, oh, well, we'll keep an eye on his transactions to see if he sells that item, as though he was going to sell it with the same account. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people do that kind of stuff all the time. And I'm saying, like, I understand, like, you have to think about, like, if you're eBay, like, the logistics of everything. Like, you can't prove as eBay what happened.
Yeah.
My friend could be the scammer. The buyer could be the scammer. You know, something could have happened to the package while it was in transit. I mean, I've had packages stolen from me by the shipping company more than once. Like, I've literally gotten a package where the package had been opened and the item had been removed from inside the package.
And like, then resealed.
Somebody did that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And taped back shut. The only people that could have done that were like UPS or FedEx or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm saying from eBay's perspective, it's like, well, you know, who do you believe? You have no way of being able to say.
Like, I understand that, but
you got to do something.
Like, how are they? Yeah, you got to do something, and maybe they just don't have the manpower to be able to research everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I haven't sold anything on eBay in quite a few years, actually. But like just hearing that makes my blood boil. Like I have no desire to do that. I'd rather take something and just give it to somebody,
right?
Than like deal with that,
right?
Like I will give, you know, like if it's something I don't want, like a lot of times I'll just ask anybody I know. It's like, oh, are you interested in this?
Yeah,
you know?
I do that. I do that all the time. I've given, you know, I mean, I've
You've
sent
given
stuff
me
to you,
like
obviously, but I've sent stuff to other people like that hang out in my Discord. I've given stuff to other YouTube, you know, creators. I hate that word. Just because, yeah, it's like I don't want to bother trying to sell this and the headache that comes with it. I mean, because I remember one time, this was like at least 10 years ago, I sold a copy. I think it was like Einhander for the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the guy gets the game, and I sold it on some forums, but this was after I wasn't really active on the forums anymore.
Yeah.
And I sell him the copy of the game for whatever I sold it for, and then I guess he wasn't happy with the condition that the game was in, because like the disc didn't literally look brand new, like there were maybe a couple of like hairline scratches on it.
Yeah, just from being used.
Yeah. And you know, I didn't sell the game as like, oh, it's in perfect mint brand new condition. I just said it's in very good condition. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, apparently, like he ended up making a thread on that forum saying that I was a scammer. But like he never tried to email me to say, hey man, I'm not, you know.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's try to figure it out.
And it wasn't until a couple of months later that I saw this thread and I was like, dude, why didn't... And so I ended up, you know, giving him a refund and he sent the game back and I immediately sold it to somebody else for the same price, you know. But I'm saying like those kind of headaches, it's like, it's not worth it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely not. Especially when, you know, you just... Like, I don't know about you, but I just always feel like I don't have enough time to do anything. And that's like the last thing that I want to spend my time doing.
Yeah, but like, so for my friend that I'm talking about here, though, it's not like it's easy. I think you and I are sort of in a position of privilege as far as that goes, where it's like I don't have to worry about, you know, getting money for a lot of the stuff, whatever, you know. But like for him, it's like getting that extra money.
What other choice is there?
It helped him out, you know, financially. So it's like he doesn't have the luxury of saying, oh, I don't I don't need to get $500 for this $500 game, like he wanted the $500, but it's just like, then what do you, like I can sell stuff on Twitter because I have like a Twitter following, right? And like people know who I am and trust me. And so if I put a game up for sale on Twitter, I can sell it that way.
Yeah.
At least up until recently, I could say you pay me with friends and family so that,
Oh, that's right. They changed that, didn't they?
They changed that, yeah. But I'm saying if you're just not somebody if you're just a regular Joe and you don't have a Twitter following, like you can't really sell stuff.
Yeah.
Like where are you supposed to sell stuff and not have to worry about scammers,
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what are you going to sell on Craigslist or something or Facebook Marketplace? Like you can still get scammed.
I mean, yeah, you can still get scammed, but at least a lot of that stuff, it's like you got to be there in person to get the stuff, to make the change, make the trade, which is nice. I mean, I've used Facebook Marketplace to just get rid of junk.
Yeah.
Just stuff that I would not that I always go back to like last year. So I've got a drop ceiling down here in the basement, and I've slowly been replacing a lot of these ceiling tiles with like I don't know, have we talked about this before? Like we have these ceiling tiles that
I think you've told me, but I don't think we've talked about it on the show.
Okay. Well, they like normally your basic ceiling tiles, drop ceiling tiles are like this like weird like material that just like break apart if you like you've probably seen them before. Like
they kind of look like
weird,
fiberglass, but I don't think they are.
No. I mean they're like, it's like thick. It's almost it's like kind of cardboardy, but just breaks apart into like this like white dust.
Yeah, stuff sucks.
Yeah, it's horrible. So I've been slowly replacing a lot of these with these soundproof like insulation panels. It's just like a short. I mean, it's a long-term project because there's a lot of them down here, and I just do like, maybe 10 of them, like every like 6 months or something like that. So I had this huge stack of like broken ceiling tiles in like various like states of condition, I guess. Like some of them were like broken in half, other ones were like the whole thing and like perfect. And I could not get rid of these things. I call up so many different places to figure out a place like, hey, do you take these to resell, or can you like properly dispose of them?
Why don't you just drive them to the dump?
Because it's just like more waste. Like I feel like there's got to be a way to.
You were trying to not have them go into the landfill, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's got to, like if you run these things through if you put them like through like a wood chipper, it would just like literally be dust.
Yeah.
Like they would just turn to dust. So I just felt like, there's got to be some sort of way to like properly recycle these so that they get disposed of in a way, or like recycled and like they can take the material and make them into new ones or something. There's like nothing. I called at least 6 different places like around in the area, and various like e-waste places that take like old VHS tapes and all these other places. Nobody wants them. So I said, I got this huge stack. I just threw them up on Facebook Marketplace. Say like, anybody who wants these can just come and get them. Just let me know. And they were gone by the end of the day.
Wow.
Someone said, like I'm working on my basement. I'm like redoing my basement, and I have these like a lot of broken tiles down there of like various like various parts of it are broken, and I can just use this to replace those. Just took the whole stack in the back of her flatbed pickup truck, and they're gone.
Nice.
That was after like at least 3 weeks of trying to get rid of them. Like, properly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a whole tangent.
No, not at all. I mean, I was kind of finished anyways with what I was saying. I was just so that's good that you brought that up. But I mean, I feel like it is a problem because I've got things that I don't want anymore, and I just want them to go to a good home. And it means I'm not
into somebody who will appreciate them.
I don't need to flip them, but I don't want to give them to Goodwill so somebody else can flip them.
Right.
And like anytime you offer up anything for free, there's people that are out there that just take, if it's free, they'll take it. I don't care what it is. Like, because like my wife and I, maybe we'll have like, and this has happened to us before. We had like a piece of furniture that we didn't, this happened actually twice, where we had a piece of furniture we didn't want anymore. But, I know that if I put it on, Craigslist or Nextdoor and say that it's free, there's like a hoarder who's going to show up with a trailer already full of stuff.
Yes.
And want to take it and just throw it on top of the pile. And so what I started doing, started doing, is we had a couch we didn't want anymore. And so I posted it on like there's like a Facebook marketplace for the university where I work, right?
Okay.
And that's where all the kids, buy and sell stuff from each other. And so like I put the couch up on Facebook marketplace on campus for like, I don't know, it was like $100 or $150. And, some undergrads that were all living together in an apartment, like, oh, we need that couch. Can we come buy it? And yeah, they just showed up at my house to get the couch. And then they tried to pay for it. And I just said, don't worry about it, because that way the couch went to someone that was actually going to use it.
Yeah.
And I got it out of my house. Like, it's not the asking for money thing is just sort of like to filter out
people that are just going to flip it, or it filter out the people that don't actually want it.
Yeah, they just want it because it's free, or they want it because they're going to take it and then they're going to go sell it.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good approach.
Yeah,
I think, I could see us doing that. I mean, we have a water bottle problem here. I wonder if we could get rid of our water bottles, water bottles. Unless
I don't know if you're going to charge for used water bottles. I don't know if you're going to get a lot of bites. On that.
That is a. That's a very astute observation.
Yeah,
that's what I say to my kids a lot.
Oh yeah,
I said it's a very astute observation.
I like that. All right, hey, we're like 30 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
So before I get to the other topics I have, maybe we should do our segment, since last time we waited like an hour.
Sure. Ready?
No, I'm not ready.
Okay.
Can you please play? I feel, my good friend Shane, he's a very good friend of the show, and you have yet to play his jingle on the show.
All right. We ready?
Yeah.
Here's my question for you. You've got to keep one and yeet two. Pick one that slaps, and the other two get dropped. That's my question for you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So thank you to Shane, and Shane is in Prince Edward Island up in Canada. I guess he's on. You would say it's an island, right? He's on it. That seems like a very picturesque place to live. Plus, they have the mussels. They're famous for their mussels.
Oh, really?
The food, the animal, not.
Yeah. They're like snails, right?
I don't. No, I don't. I mean, they're like oysters, aren't they? They're like clams, oysters, mussels. Like they're in a.
It's all gross. It's all stuff I don't really eat very much.
I don't know, but you go to a nice restaurant and they'll be on the menu. It'll say like PEI mussels. That's Prince Edward Island. I don't know what. I don't know what it is about the mussels there. Apparently, they're
the pay mussels.
Right. Yes. So anyway, thank you to Shane for the theme song. Okay, so I decided to go negative this time.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just kind of not with you on the three things can't be. I understand your logic.
Oh, I'm saying like
because it's like ridiculous. Although that's true. Last week you gave me 3 movies, so what are you complaining about? All right.
I mean, I had like some stuff written down here that were all like similar things too.
Yeah. Okay. Here's your 3 things.
Okay.
Number 1, stubbing your little toe on a coffee table leg. But I'm talking about like stubbing it hard enough where you're like, ooh, is it broken? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that
yet.
happens a lot. And I think it's kind of hard to break that little toe, or it's really easy to break it.
Okay, but just to warn you, like, since, that happens a lot, none of these things are going to be like a shark bit my leg off kind of things. These are all things that just are
minor inconveniences.
Well, maybe. All right. So number 1, and it's the little toe. Little toe gets caught on, a chair leg, table leg, whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh, I might have broken that. Time will tell. Number 2, sudden explosive diarrhea in a public place. And to be clear, I don't mean like you actually did it in your pants. But I'm saying like you realize I need to find a bathroom in like the next 60 seconds.
Okay.
But you're somewhere where it's not like you're sitting at Denny's, which is actually a common place to get explosive diarrhea.
Yeah.
So you can just run into the bathroom. I mean, like, you and your whole family are out somewhere for the day,
Yeah.
And then you got like, oh my God, I have to find a bathroom somehow and just blow out an O-ring. Number 3, and I should say all 3 of these things, I mean, number 1's happened to everybody, but number 2 and number 3 have happened to me at very inopportune times, I guess. Number 3 is being stuck on a boat and being seasick.
Okay. So I guess a good way to look at this is that, like, the 2 you want to get rid of. So is this like these things are never going to happen? Would never happen to you then?
It's more like one of them is going to happen to you today. Think about it that way. Because, otherwise it's like, can I get rid of 2 of these things forever? Great. No, I'm saying one of these things is you are in impending danger of one of these things happening to you.
Okay. So I'm definitely going to keep the stubbing your toe. I hate feeling seasick. It's only happened a few times in my life, but it's like, and it's like the thing about being like on a boat and feeling seasick is that it feels endless.
Yeah.
And it ruins your whole day.
For sure.
I mean, and like the diarrhea is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, because if you got to find that bathroom in 60 seconds, there's probably a good chance that you're not going to find it.
I mean, I made up the 60 seconds part. It doesn't have to be like, I'm just saying, you're
like you got to rush home. You can. I'm rush, saying it's like rush home.
It immediately becomes your number 1 and really only priority is like, I have to find a bathroom right now.
Well, I mean, I think that like that is definitely like I would definitely get rid of the diarrheas because I mean I also like I don't like pooping in public bathrooms in general. Like if I have to, like if I gotta, then I'm going to. But that's something that I will go out of my way to avoid having to do. Like if I know like I can just like wait a little bit longer till I get home. I'm gonna wait till I get home.
Yeah.
Like if it's like a rest stop on the side, I mean, I don't know. Like that's like an easy get rid of it though. I mean, I've stubbed my little toe enough to know. Like I mean, I don't know if I've ever broken it. But if you're unsure you've broken it, I mean, if it was a sure thing that you've broken it, like if you're gonna hit it hard enough to break it, then like that's gonna be pretty painful.
But I'm saying like I feel like I've done that a ton of times where you like stub it and it's like, wow, that really, really hurts. Yeah. And I always think like, oh man, maybe I broke it. But then like a half hour later, it doesn't even hurt anymore, Right.
I mean, I think that's an easy keep.
Yeah.
On that note, I don't know if this is a common thing. I have a little bit of a deformed little toe.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have a typical toenail on it. It's just like this little like a little thing that almost like grows out vertically. I think that this is like a normal thing. That
I was going to say, I think, I mean, if you say you have a deformed little... I've seen people with like little
toes that are just like, like normal toenails, but this is just like it's a little thing.
I mean, my little toe definitely has a tiny toenail. I mean, I think like little toes are just very strange looking. Is that an appendage? I don't know what you call a toe, but it's just like the rest of the toes are all right, and then that little toe almost seems like, I wouldn't be surprised if in like 10,000 years, like humans only have 4 toes. Like I think that toe's on its way out.
Yeah.
It looks like
I mean, it's just being used to like, it just helps you keep your balance.
It's like a prehensile toe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm gonna keep the stubbing the toe.
Yeah.
And the diarrhea is an easy throw out, and the boat. Well, first off, I'd be like, if this stuff is happening today, like, how am I getting on a boat today? Like, what condition is going to lead to me being on a boat today?
Well, I don't. Maybe you go on one of the Great Lakes or something. Like
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we're on the kind of the on the topic. I was trying to come up with like 3 things. Could we like do another one? Like it's
sure, but when we're done, I want to tell my explosive diarrhea story.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, why don't we just do that then? I'll save this then.
No, it's too late now. I got to hear it.
Okay. Well, I mean, we were just going through like, what can we think of? And I had just like gotten out of the shower, and she's like, "Oh, how about would you rather,
Wait, is this something your wife said to you?
No. This is we came up with it together. I just like
Who's we?
sat down. Oh, my wife and I.
Okay,
like I came down after
asking.
I took a shower, and we were just, like, I was petting the dog, and I'm like, "Oh, let's like you want to help me come up with like 3 things for the podcast?"
Oh, all right. I didn't know she was.
And she's like, just like, sitting there for a minute. And she's like, water parks. Okay. So probably because I just got out of the shower, so we're thinking of like water.
Yeah.
So we were thinking like, oh, like water parks, water guns, or showers. You're like, I
mean,
know.
okay, well, between those 3, the water guns is the easy throw out. And I say that I love, I mean, who doesn't love a super soaker? But
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you can't compare that, Showering for me, that's like one of the great pleasures in life.
It is
a nice warm shower. A nice warm shower on a cold day, nice cool shower on a hot day.
Yes.
And water parks, I mean, I haven't been to a water park since I was a kid, but I mean, that's like probably some of the most fun I ever had as a kid was going down water slides.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could go to a water park now, but I would just feel like a huge creep. So I won't be doing that.
If you ever come out here, we can go to Kings Island, and there's like a big water park there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a Six Flags type place.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have said that it's much better.
Yeah. So anyway, I have to say, there's no way I can yeet showers.
Yes. But I mean, you could say like you can still take a bath.
Well, actually, strangely, I feel like I mentioned this already. My house does not have a bathtub.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 bathrooms, and they're both shower only. Which is, we didn't even notice when we bought the house because we don't have kids.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, we kind of wondered, like, because this house kind of sat on the market, and we were like, why aren't people buying this? This is a pretty nice house or whatever. And this was when the market was really like low. So like we got this house for like a really good deal. Mm-hmm. And, we kind of wondered that, well, if you have, this is the kind of house you get if you had kids, because this is a 4-bedroom house. But then if you have kids, then you want bathtubs, don't you? And I feel like that's the kind of thing parents would notice. Like if they came to look at the house, they'd be like, "Oh, there's no bathtubs in this house. That's weird."
Right. Yeah. I mean, I had baths on here instead of showers at first, but I was like,
I'll be honest. It's like, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to love taking baths. I was a bath guy when I was like a kid, because I mean, my mom would have to pull me out. Like, you got to get out of the bathtub, buddy. Because like my skin would be all pruny because I was in there playing with my toys and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But now, I'm not saying if I had a bathtub, I would use it like super regularly. But now for me, a bath is like forbidden fruit because it's like, it doesn't matter if I want one or not. I can't have one.
You'd have to go and
I'd have to be in a hotel
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, if I'm in a hotel, that's like the last place I want to take a bath is in a hotel room.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I haven't had a bath in many, many years, but yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, that was just off the top of our head, like earlier.
Yeah, so. No, that's a good question.
All right, let's hear that. Let's hear that diarrhea story.
All right, just real quick. This is
I love a good diarrhea story.
Who doesn't? So I don't remember what year this. Oh, no, I do. This was 1997. It was I think it was like August '97. We had this radio station in town. Like, I always listened to the same. We had this rock station that played like hard rock from the 80s. Like, they'd play like hair metal and stuff from the 80s, but then they would also play like a lot of Metallica, maybe a little bit of Megadeth, and they would also play like some contemporary 90s rock, like some of the stuff we talked about with the 90s, like flash in the pan kind of, like they'd play 7 Mary 3 and stuff like that. It was a cool station. I liked listening to their morning show. Like, that was my station. Like that, I listened to all the time. And then there was this other station that was only like 2 notches up the dial that at some point changed formats and became like an alternative rock station. Now, they wouldn't play any of the older stuff that I just talked. They're not playing like Ozzy, or Europe. They were just playing like grunge from the early 90s and then like, contemporary alternative rock from the late 90s.
Yeah.
But like, for some reason they took it upon themselves, like, we're going to become the rival of the other station. Like, we're going to turn this into like a thing.
Okay.
And so like, I kind of didn't.
So they weren't both in on it. It's just one of them, you think?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm sure eventually they were both in on it, but
I mean, they
got dragged into it.
I don't really know, but it's just like, I was like, young guy. I was like 20 years old. And so like, I kind of still had like that console war mentality.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm a fan of this station. I don't like that other station too terribly much,
Mm-hmm.
And, but I mean, whatever. It's like, if it was commercials on the station I listened to, of course I was going to flip over to the other one. If they're playing Nirvana, then who cares who's playing it, Yeah. But I'm saying, like, I'd go to like a concert and like they would have a booth set up and like they'd have like a slogan on the tent that was obviously aimed at the other, like, it was like, your real local rock station. And it's like, God, like
talking smack.
Put it back in your pants. Anyway, so, but whatever. So after they were around for like a couple of years, they did this concert where it was like their 2-year anniversary. So they called it like the birthday bash. It was I forgot the call letters of the station, but it was the K whatever birthday bash. And it was this all-day concert at the local fairgrounds. Like the fairgrounds had like an amphitheater, a pretty nice amphitheater actually. And so like they had all these bands come out. Like some bands I've still never heard of outside of seeing them there because they were just like, maybe bands that were up and coming, but then never really came up and went anywhere. But I mean, it was interesting. It was probably, I mean, you probably would have hated it. This concert would probably be like Pat Finnerty's worst nightmare. But they had Cake. Cake is awesome.
Cake is awesome.
That was right. Like every band that was there only had like one hit song yet. They were all just barely, like Smash Mouth was there, but they only had that Walking on the Sun song out.
Right.
Sugar Ray was there, and I forgot what Sugar Ray's first hit was, but that was the only song they had.
I Just Want to Fly.
Yes, exactly. And that was like the only song that you would know by them. Cake only had The Distance. Mm-hmm. And then oddly, Fiona Apple was there, but she didn't really fit in with the rest of the. I mean, I don't have a problem with Fiona Apple, but I'm saying like it was a bunch of rock bands and then Fiona Apple. And she was like maybe the headliner or like the one right below the headliner. The headliner was a very famous rock band that I can't remember the name of right now, and that makes me very embarrassed, so I'm not even going to talk about it. But it was this cool show that started at like maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon and went until like 11 o'clock at night. And so I went with my best friend Fabian, and beforehand we were like, oh, we gotta go get some lunch, and we went to Denny's, which I should have known by then. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I could go to Denny's and get a glass of water, and it would, give me intestinal distress. There's just something about Denny's. Like, I won't.
But
I don't
eat
eat Denny's.
Good. Oh, you won't eat Denny's. You don't like it.
Oh God, no. Because I just assume it's like going to Taco Bell and getting a chalupa. It's like you just know that you're just gonna. So it's like just don't even go in. It's not like I don't think their food is good, but it's like it's not worth getting. It's not worth having a bathroom emergency over, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so we go, and I even remember what I got. I got chicken strips. I don't know why I remember it because this was, this is a very memorable day, not just because of the concert. But we went to Denny's. I got chicken strips. It came with like a little side salad and whatnot with the salad dressing, which is probably, I'm guessing, was the problem. And so we go there, we eat that. We go to the concert. I'm at the concert for a couple hours, and I can start to feel like, I got a problem in the lower quadrant there, And so like I go in, and there's only one bathroom. I mean, there's multiple stalls, but I'm saying like there's like several thousand people at this event. Yeah. And there's like a men's room and there's a ladies' room. And the men's room has like 3 or 4 stalls, and then like that's it. And so anytime you go in there, it's like super crowded, right?
Yeah.
So like I go in there and I'm just like, blowing it out. And like there's people, I can hear people in the bathroom talking about it. Like, oh my God, what's going on with that guy in there? Like,
yeah,
guy's going through some life-changing events in that stall, And so I'm just like, and I've always been the kind of person, like, I want to do that stuff in private. Like, I don't understand.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, you only use a public bathroom, like poop in a public bathroom.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I can go to the bathroom at work and just be peeing. And someone will just walk right in and go into a stall, drop trow, and just like go for it and like be like vocalizing, like, and like they think nothing of it. right? Like, it's like as if I'm going to be able to look at you the same way ever again. But they don't care, which I mean, I admire that. But I'm saying I can't do that. Like, I need a little privacy.
Yeah, well, same here. Really quick, I don't mean to interrupt your story, but this makes me think.
Ahead.
I've been watching that show on the Peacock, hopping on the cock and watching Poker Face, which is a great show. If you've never seen it before, you should hop on the cock and watch Poker Face. There's like this one episode where the main character is in the bathroom and this woman comes in. She's like fixing up her hair and stuff, and she just like farts really loud. And she kind of like looks over to him, and she's like, "What? That's what happens in here."
But that's like, the thing is, logically, I know that that's the case.
Yeah,
but like I remember one time I was in the bathroom and I was peeing. My boss comes to the urinal right next to me, starts peeing, is talking to me,
I can't do that,
and just rips one. And I'm like, wow.
It's just he's like, well, that's what happens in here. I don't want to like talk to anybody.
Well, I didn't say anything, so he didn't have to say that. But logically, I knew it's like, well, where else are you supposed to do it, right? Like, I mean, I guess he could go in his office and close the door, but like, why would you hotbox yourself when you can just go in the bathroom and
you go for a walk?
You're supposed to do it. Yes, but anyway, so I understand it's my own personal hang-up, that I don't want anybody else to be exposed to like my bodily processes, So anyway, I mean, I still got to go. Like I got some of it out, but I'm just like, I can't stay in here, man. I don't know what I'm going to do. Right?
Like I got to go home. If it was like a porta potty, would have been better.
Yes, that would have been way better. Yeah. But they didn't have those. So anyway, there's some band up on the stage I think I didn't care about. Like I said, there was like the first 3 or 4 bands. I'm not saying they were bad, but I'm saying like I had never heard of them, and I've never heard from them since then. Yeah. So I wasn't too worried about that. So I leave the bathroom and I start like sort of inspecting the fence line around because this amphitheater is inside the fairgrounds. Now the fair is not going on.
You're starting to think about if you can go home and come back.
No.
Or you're thinking about going on.
No, because I know you can't. I think they made that clear. Like there's no in and out privileges or whatever. But so anyway, I find like a gap in the fence somewhere where I can like go through the fence, and I'm not like outside in the parking lot, but now I'm in the fairgrounds because the amphitheater's inside the fairgrounds, right?
Yeah.
So I see that, and I'm like, oh, score, right? So I just like go through the fence, and then I'm just walking around in the fair. And like I said, the fair's not going on. The only people there are like employees of the fairgrounds that are just walking around doing their jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, I don't look like I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt and I don't look like I'm up to anything, right? So I'm just walking around the fairgrounds like I own the place, like just acting like I'm supposed to be there. And I go like 3 or 4 buildings over, and I find like, I guess maybe that's where the employees were going. Like I find a bathroom where the door is just open.
Yeah.
And so I go in there and I got the whole place to myself the entire time. And it was just the most amazing, like that is like at the time was my all-time favorite bathroom, because it was like I found one when I needed it, and I had like, complete privacy. I was able to completely evacuate what needed to be evacuated, and then I just walked right back over to the concert, went right back in the same gap in the fence, and nobody was ever the wiser.
Mm-hmm. Smoked a cigarette probably.
I'm sure I smoked plenty of cigarettes.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Sometimes after having an experience like that, you feel like you just want to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was a pack-a-day smoker back then, so I'm sure I was smoking a lot of cigarettes. Anyway.
Which, is a diuretic also.
Oh, well. Anyway, that's probably not a very good story, but that's anytime I think of explosive diarrhea, it's that and chalupas.
What do you, is there anything else that you remember about this show? Is there did it make you discover any bands or anything like that you would go on to listen to a bunch?
No, not at all.
I just thought, like, for me,
it was just like, it was just cooler that, I was listening to the radio, and so I was hearing, Walking on the Sun, and I was hearing The Distance, and so like to be there and have the bands play it, like, because I hadn't been to very many concerts at that point. Like, I think as a young adult that was going to concerts on my own, I think that was only like the 3rd concert that I'd been to. No, 4th. But I saw it, like 2 of them were Metallica, and then I saw Tool. Because where I lived, you didn't get a lot of, the acts coming around
right
to where I was. And so like having that having that kind of all day show with all these bands that, they had that one song I like, and they have that one song I like too, and that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Me. I still have the T-shirt, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. You should wear it on the show sometime.
Yeah.
You think it fit?
Maybe. Decent chance.
So I don't know if I mentioned. I didn't mention this. So my daughter, she's almost 11, and she's been really getting into I told you about how we were listening to. I was taking her to dance one day, and I was listening to a Pixies album, and she was kind of getting into it. And I said, I used to go through your uncle's tape collection and just make mixtapes for myself all the time. And I would mow lawns, and I would just listen to these mixes that I would make of stuff that I didn't know about, because there was a point in time where he worked at a college radio station, so he just had a bunch of stuff. And she's like, oh, I'd like to do that, but I don't have any way to listen to stuff. So I'm I have an old iPod Shuffle, which is the little one that's a little clip.
Right, with no screen,
it's pretty neat. No screen. It's just super simple, cool. Right?
Yeah. But then how does she know what the song is?
Well, she won't. I said, I put a bunch of stuff on here, new to, older stuff, a lot of iconic stuff. I was talking to you, as I was kind of choosing what to put on there, trying to only put, one song per band. And I said, if you like something, then, ask me about it, and I can, we can further explore that.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, she's been going through and my wife and I's old T-shirts and stuff, and I don't know where we found them, but she found one of my old REM T-shirts, and they just thought it was the coolest thing that it says 1995 on it.
Yeah.
So I still got a lot of my certain old concert shirts and stuff.
Will you let her wear them, or is that
Oh, absolutely. She's been wearing them all the time. They're really big on her.
Sure.
But she is so excited. She's oh, it says 1995 on it.
Yeah.
It's it's real. It's real. It's not going to Target and you see a lot of kids these days with Nirvana T-shirts on that they got at Target.
Yeah. That's pretty. That's 25 years before she was born, right? Roughly. Maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah, right. She was born in 2012, so almost 20.
Yeah.
So
But so I'm saying that would be if I found a T-shirt in my parents' stuff from the 50s.
Yeah.
So
would you think it was right at that time? Yeah, it would have been. Cool, but I don't remember.
Well, because when I was a kid, sort of 50s nostalgia and whatnot was a big thing. So anything from the 50s, in the 80s, anything from the 50s was cool, right?
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there was 50s cafes and stuff like that,
I have some of my mom's old records and stuff that, when she moved out of her house, I have a bunch of stuff that, it's cool because she wrote her name on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool seeing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. So, hey, since we're talking about music, I have kind of an idea for you. All right. And don't what?
I was
all right. Don't laugh. This is kind of funny, but I think it's a good idea, right? I can't help it that it's funny. All right. Sure. This is about your karaoke problem.
Is it a good problem or a bad problem?
Well, you were talking last time about how it's hard.
That I like to do it.
No. But that's you'll go and it's kind of hard to really kind of open your voice up and really give it your all because it's you're kind of self-conscious, right?
Yes.
So this was the idea that I kind of came up with because remember I told you last time when you go travel to other cities then you can go and just do it and who cares. But this idea is even better. So okay. So you remember Andy Kaufman, right?
Yeah.
And he had Tony Clifton. Right. And Garth Brooks, right? He had Chris Gaines, right? You remember that? Yeah. I don't know if I remember I watched that episode of Saturday Night Live where Garth Brooks was hosting and then Chris Gaines was the musical guest. I was I thought it was real. I thought it was very weird then, and I only think it's slightly less weird now. But the point is
they just wanted to it was Chris Gaines. It was more of a rock. It wasn't
yes,
country,
it was
right?
an alternative rocky kind of
Yeah. So it's just like a way to like explore different genres without, sullying his
right.
His
you
fans,
can imagine if he wants to make a record and sound like Collective Soul, maybe he doesn't want it to say Garth Brooks on it. I get it.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
The Tony Clifton thing, that's just because Andy Kaufman's a weird guy, or was, but in a good way. In fact, I don't want to get off topic, but if you ever watch you or any of you, you can watch like interviews with Jerry Lawler, like recent interviews talking about that whole thing that him and Andy Kaufman did. And it's just very, because, that was all fake. And,
right.
You could tell that, Jerry Lawler really considered Andy Kaufman to be like a good friend of his. And he talked about how much like Andy Kaufman loved professional wrestling and he loved the idea of being a heel. And that really is what kind of informed his whole comedic style, you know, because he would go do a show where the point of the show wasn't even to be funny. It was just to piss off the audience because he saw himself as the heel because he grew up watching wrestling and just enjoyed sort of that heel thing. So it's just, it's interesting to watch that and watch like Jerry Lawler talking about, Andy Kaufman with this great reverence, and that you could tell he really misses the guy. But anyways, okay. So I think this is what you should do. All right. You should come up with, you know who else? Bono. Remember Bono had The Fly? Wasn't it The Fly? Bono had that alter ego he would turn into on stage.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Okay, it doesn't matter. The point, it's all the same idea, right? You come up with an alter ego, right? Where you can wear some like different clothes. You could, if you put on a wig if you wanted, whatever, right? And you have a whole new name, and you can make it something like outlandish, because I think that would help, right? And then you don't go to the karaoke bar. Your alter ego goes to the karaoke bar. And then you can
just act, like be somebody else.
Yeah. And then you're not
disguise
the one.
myself.
But it's not even about it's just becoming mentally, it's like method acting. Like you're just going to go in there and you're just going to be a different person.
Yeah.
And that will free you to just go for it and do whatever you want. Because it's not Coury in there. It's,
That's whoever I've decided is going to be.
Murray Blickstein or whoever you've decided to,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll certainly think about that. I'll think if I can come up with a whole backstory and history.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's
that
important.
Sounds,
the more you do that, the more it has to be this is a real alter ego. I'm not throwing on a wig and saying my name is Charlie. Like you have to come up with this whole character that you're going to be.
Somebody in the comments for that video said, I used to practice just by using Rock Band and like practicing songs that way. And that's
good idea.
I have a whole, like I set it up upstairs and my daughter and I, like she loves to sing on that. And I think that there's a way to have two people sing. So I wonder like her and I could just do it, just belt it out.
Yeah.
In a way that the only people that are uncomfortable are the other occupants of this house.
Yeah.
And we can, improve over time.
Yeah. Something to think about. Both of those things. Yeah.
I'll think of a name. And then
yes. That's But like I said, like you said, there has to be a whole backstory,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Paul Hogan. Like Paul Hogan created Crocodile Dundee, right? Like that's what you need to do. Yeah. All right. Last thing. This is the last thing I had to talk about.
Okay. I mean, you said you had a lot talked about, but I feel like we've been like
no. I'm saying
trading
I still have one
stories
more.
like pretty good.
Yes, which is what I like. But I still have one more thing here.
Okay.
But like as usual, do me a favor. Don't ever apologize for interrupting.
Okay.
Because I don't. Okay. The last thing I want is for you to think of something while I'm talking, and then by the time I'm done, you forgot. You know what I'm saying? Like, just shoot your shot if you got something.
All right.
Okay.
Can I just say really quick? Like, I loved in your Big Six video when you I'm playing the cartridge and you're like, because like, smoke them if you got them. I love that you said that in that video. It just like made me laugh.
I don't remember saying that.
Well, you talked about how you're playing the actual cartridges when you could have just played the games on the firmware, and you're like,
I see.
And smoke them if you got them.
Yeah, that is funny. I didn't recall saying that. All right, so Well, here's my question for you, actually, because that's what I'm leaning into here. Do you like wine?
I mean, I don't love it. I will tolerate it to an extent, but like my wife loves wine. She loves wine. Drinks a lot of wine. You can probably talk to her about the entire podcast about drinking wine.
Okay, I don't. That's like my own personal hell. So let's please not do that. So I was still giggling about smoke them if you got them, but
well, I mean, wine is okay. And I like if I have a choice to like drink almost like anything else, I'll take that instead. It's just that wine like gives me really, really bad hangovers.
Oh, all right.
So I just don't drink it unless it's just like, hey, it's in a situation where you should have wine or you're being offered wine, and it's like, okay.
Okay, so I think you and I are maybe not on the exact same page, but on like adjacent pages. Like it sounds like I might like wine a little bit more than you. Like sometimes like a little glass of red wine, especially depending on what I'm eating, just sounds good. Like, oh, I'll have some red wine with that, like, but that's about it. Like I don't drink white wine at all. But like I said, a glass of red wine sometimes, it's pretty good. But overall, I would say that like for me, I think most people know by now, like I'm a big beer guy. Like I love beer. Second would be like cocktails. I like although I don't like anything too crazy.
Like a Manhattan.
I've actually never had a Manhattan, so I don't. I don't.
Good.
No, but I mean like just basic, or just liquor or basic simple cocktails.
Okay.
And then third would be like wine.
Okay.
But, my wife likes wine quite a bit. I don't know what it is. Ladies like the wine, which is fine.
Yeah.
So the other day, we went to Berkeley. And, and I even went, remember I didn't take, you and me and Tri all went to that Jewish restaurant.
Right. Like the diner type place.
Yeah. But it's all Jewish food. So,
right.
Although somehow at least one of you ate like a turkey sandwich, which is like, all right, that's fine. But, anyway, I went back there, but that's not the point of the story. So, we went there and we were there's this bread store that their bread is just incredible. They have like pastries and stuff too. I don't know what they're doing in there, but it's just like the best bread and other baked goods that are in existence. But where the bread store is right next to this wine distributor or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's a wine shop, but it's like the guy that owns it is the one that imports all the wine. So like all the wine in there is from whatever winery it's from, but it literally says on the label, imported by, and then has his name.
Okay.
And the bread store always has a long line in the parking lot. Like you have to show up and get in a line. You're going to be in line for like 15 minutes probably. And so we're waiting in line, and my wife says, "Oh, I'm going to go into this wine shop, if you don't mind." And I was like, yes, please do so. And so she goes into the wine shop, and she's in there for like 10 minutes, and she comes out with like a bottle of wine, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd never been in there. So I was like, well, what's it like in there, And so she's kind of telling me about it, and we still have to wait quite a bit in line. I said, all right, I'm going to go in there then, And she says, yeah, go ahead. And so then I go in there, I'm looking around, and it's just like, it's kind of like what I said before about like classical music, Like I want to like classical music, I just don't know anything, right? Like I don't.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. I go into a wine shop and I'm like, why is this bottle this much money and that bottle's that much money? What's the difference between like a Cabernet Sauvignon and like a Merlot? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was just looking around, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And I left. And we got our bread and whatnot and went about our day. And then later when we were at the Jewish deli, Saul's Delicatessen on Shattuck in Berkeley, if anybody lives in the area and wants to check it out, because I love that place. There's a wine shop around the corner, but we didn't know it was a wine. We just were walking around the neighborhood, and there's like this old like pumping station, for like water that got converted into being a little store because it doesn't need to pump things anymore. And so it was like a wine shop, and we go in there because she's like, oh, wine shop, so we went in there, and I don't know why, but I ended up buying a couple bottles of wine, and I bought I'm very curious. So like I bought sort of a somewhat expensive bottle of wine. It's like $50, which I understand in the grand scheme of wine is not, $50 ain't that much money. But I'm saying I normally drink wine that's like $10.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for $10 you can get a pretty decent bottle of wine. In my opinion.
But it's available at so many places. You can get $10 wine at Target if you wanted to.
Right. Or like, I get wine at Trader Joe's a lot. I don't get the $2 chuck, but I'll just get, if you got $10 and you go into one of these stores, there's plenty of wine options available to you. Right. And to me, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing anyway. So it's like, really, that label looks pretty cool because you have nothing else to judge it on. It's like when I was a kid going to Toys R Us to get a Nintendo game. And it's like, okay, all I have to go on is the box art. It's like the same thing with the wine. It's like, well, this one looks cool, so whatever.
I mean, that's exactly what it is because there's just so much. I mean, beer's like that too at this point.
Yeah. So I'm going to get to beer in a second. But so I ended up buying, like I said, a bottle of wine. It was like $50 because this place had little descriptions, And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to try it because I'm very curious. Okay, so a $50 bottle of wine is 5 times more expensive than what I would normally buy. Right. And I'm not sure I've ever had a $50 bottle of wine because, like, why would you spend $50 on wine? It's not something I would normally do, but I'm very curious. Like, if I open this and drink it, am I going to be like, oh, like now I see, is it? Because this,
your eyes have been opened, your horizons expanded.
But here's why I don't think so. But so, like, looking at beer, okay, like if you look at the difference between like really cheap beer and really good beer,
right?
I would say it's about a 2-fold price difference, right? Like and I know with a lot of cheap beer, it's more like volume discount. Like if you're gonna get Bud Light, get like a 30-pack, right? But let's just stick to 6-packs. If I go to the store and I buy a 6-pack around here of Bud Light, Miller Lite, whatever, it's going to cost me about $7.50, I would say.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if I go buy a 6-pack of like really expensive beer, it's going to be like $15, right? So it's like a 2-fold, But with wine, it's like the sky's the limit, right? And I kind of get it, like, oh, this was already a excellent vintage, and the bottle's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Supply and demand, right? You're going to pay for that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
absolutely.
like, if you can make $2 chuck for $2, how is it that you have this other wine that's not old yet? It's a couple, it was like picked 3 years ago, and they're just selling it now, and it's like $200, right?
Right. Yeah.
And what I think, this is kind of my theory. I already told my wife this, but so she's hearing this story twice, I suppose. But I see like there's a lot of similarities between like the wine industry and the way wine people are, and like the audiophile industry and the way audiophiles are, right? Because like, you go, oh, let's go wine tasting, and you go to this winery, and they give you the little cup of wine, and they're like, oh, can't you taste the notes of like sugar cookies and baked apricots, and then you're like, oh my God, you're right, I do taste that. Whereas if you tasted it by yourself, you're like, I don't taste anything. And it's like the same thing if you went to some like high-end Bay Area stereo equipment store and they hooked up like $5,000 speaker cables. They'd be like, oh, can't you hear the transparency and like the ease of the musicians playing? And you're like, oh my God, I never noticed that before, right? Because it's all just BS, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess
you're saying that, but you're thinking like, shut up.
Absolutely. Stop. Absolutely. In fact, that's one, like, I've complained about this before, although not on this show. Like, there's that website, Beer Advocate.
Okay.
And it's like a website where people can go review beer, right? Which to me seems like in theory it should be a good idea. Like you go to the store and you're like, I never heard of this beer. Is it any good? You can like go on your phone and load up Beer Advocate and hear. But it's like they're all using the same kind of descriptors that like wine people use. So like I find that whole website highly annoying because it's like every single reviewer, it's like they have their own language and it just sounds so sickeningly pretentious.
Yes.
That I just like, I won't even go to that website. And I just feel like that's how wine people are, and that's how audiophiles are. It's like sickeningly pretentious because you have to justify spending all this money on something when it's like, is it really that much better? Like in the case of wine, okay, maybe.
But I mean,
like cheap wine can certainly taste like garbage, right? But and with audiophile stuff, like speaker cables are speaker cables. Like I don't, there's no difference, right? If you if you buy expensive speaker cables because you want some stereo bling, like knock yourself out. But like anybody that tries to say that like, oh, this $500 power cable for my amp, you can hear the difference. No, you can't. It's 100% a placebo thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of that same kind of stuff with the wine. So I guess I'm saying that, and that makes it seem like I'm kind of going into this whole thing biased, but I don't think I am, because I'm kind of hoping it's like I want to.
Oh, so you haven't drank the bottle yet?
No, I haven't opened, but I'm going to do it this week. I just bought it the other day. I just haven't had a chance.
I mean, you think you're going to open that and you're going to have like a glass, or you think like I'm going to open this thing and your wife and yourself are going to drink the whole thing?
I mean, I don't know. That would be more than we normally drink. But I mean, maybe if we open it and it's good, then like, sure, let's just polish it off. I mean, once you open wine, you gotta, it's starting to make vinegar, so you can't let it hang around forever. But
right.
Certainly for a couple days. I mean, the other thing is normally, we open a bottle of wine and it kind of stays open on the counter for a few days with just a stopper in it. Mm-hmm. Because I'll also use it when I'm cooking, but I'm not going to use that. That's a little too expensive to, you pour a little bit of that into your pasta sauce. You just poured $5 into your pasta sauce. So,
what if you try it and it tastes like sparkling grape juice? Because sparkling grape juice, like the stuff you get for it's delicious, and I would like drink the entire bottle in one sitting. Like if I didn't feel
Martinelli's, it's delicious.
Yeah, I mean, I would drink the whole thing if I knew that it wouldn't make me feel super guilty.
Yeah, it's a lot of sugar.
Yeah. And, like, what if it tastes like that, though? And you're like, would that be worth the $50? I don't know.
I just don't know what to expect,
Yeah.
And so it's like I said, everything I just said probably makes it seem like I'm being really negative, and I'm really not. It's just like, it's the reason I generally don't mess around with wine. A lot of it is just because of all the pretentiousness around it. And it's just
you're trying to figure it out.
You're like picking grapes and you're like stomping on them and you're fermenting them. Like, let's not make it sound like you're curing cancer over there.
Well, and you're trying to just, have something, like when somebody asks you like, oh, why don't you like this? It's like, well, I tried this and I didn't taste the difference.
Yeah.
So
although
therefore,
somebody would
I don't
say,
give
well,
a
that's
shit.
just one example. I mean,
Yeah. And I mean,
somebody could say, well, maybe that just wasn't good wine. I don't know, maybe not. But just like I'm saying, I don't drink $10 wine and ever think like, oh, I wish this was better. I think, oh, it's, to me, that's just what wine tastes like, right?
I mean, it's a means to an end. Like, you're drinking wine
partially
because you want to feel a certain way.
You want to get a little buzz going on. Yeah. Yes. But that doesn't
because wine buzzes are great. Like, wine buzzes are like arguably the best kind of buzz.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, I drink cheap beer. I mean, there's sometimes, like, man, a Coors Light would just hit the spot right now. Like, I'm not like a beer. I appreciate good beer. Like, I can taste really the difference. Like, if you go get, like, a proper Pilsner, of course that tastes better than, like, Budweiser, which is also a Pilsner, right? But I'm saying I'll drink either one, and I'm happy with them, And so I'm curious, like, if I drink cheap wine and I'm happy with it, like, am I going to drink more expensive wine and say, like, well, I can clearly see why this is better, even though I'm still going to be happy drinking the cheaper stuff? That's what I'm just curious about.
My wife has really gotten into putting beer into like the slow cooked meat that she's been making, like in the crock pot or something.
Yeah.
Because she's a big fan of, I mean, like her favorite cheap beer is Miller Lite. She's like, I'll put a can of Miller Lite in this this taco meat that she's been cooking all day. It was like something that she heard from somebody, and now she's like, oh, I'll try it with this pork butt that she let sit in the crock pot all day, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't think she ever puts like wine and stuff.
In Spain, apparently a popular like summertime drink there is you just get like cheap red wine and you put it in a glass with some ice and Coke.
Oh, interesting.
I'm curious to try that.
Yeah, I'd give that a try.
I mean, it doesn't sound good, but if that many people are that into it, like there's got to be something to it,
Maybe.
All right. Yeah, that's true. Maybe not. All right. Question time.
Oh yeah, let's hit that email.
So that's why I'm, for anybody watching, like, why are you messing with your phone? Because I'm pulling up emails, buddy. Yeah. Okay. What's this one going on? All right. This is from Jonathan. I think we've had a Jonathan before, but this is not the same Jonathan. He says, long-time listener, first-time caller. Popular line to use on the radio.
That's a good way to get that little buffer at the very beginning of the email.
Well, that's probably what he's doing. So he says, I'm enjoying the banter, and I thought of something I'd like to ask. I'm a big Steely Dan fan for many years and enjoy the vast majority of their catalog. During the production, I'm not familiar with their music, beyond popular songs. Right. During the production of Gaucho, my favorite album of theirs, there was a complete or almost complete track called The Second Arrangement, with quotes, which was supposedly erased mistakenly when an assistant engineer was preparing it for review. The story continues that despite their best efforts, the band was never able to recreate it to their perfectionist standards and just gave up. Some bootlegs of demos have since surfaced, and it was even played once live in New York City during a rarity show proving its existence. My question for you is, if some large, meaningful video project of yours is ever lost right before completion, what would you do? Would it be heartbreaking enough not to reattempt?
Like if all my footage and everything died, or like if my hard drive died or something like that, it's like,
I mean, I think so. You can't have I know it's not 100% comparable to like music production, but so I assume your source material has to be gone.
Yeah, I would definitely not reattempt it immediately. I would maybe revisit it later on because, I would have the script at least, and that goes a long way to making it.
Well, maybe you would. Maybe you don't.
I mean, that's if Google Drive dies, then I would lose my script. But I would not reattempt it right away. I'd be really annoyed, and I would walk away from that particular project for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you? Like, what if
I don't know? It's funny that he asked that because I've actually thought about that before, just for no good. Just
Yeah, I mean,
you're working on something
it's a
and you
scary
say
thing
like,
to think about.
I wonder what I would do if I've thought about it really in more like cataclysmic terms, where I wonder I have that 8 terabyte RAID, little external RAID thing. Mm-hmm. That has like literally everything for my show, like all my footage, all my
you
every
should
image
upload
I've
that
ever
footage.
What?
You should upload that footage to my NAS.
That's my footage. No, because I noticed I lost access to some of your NAS, so don't talk to me about how I should give you stuff, because now I see how it is. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. But no, you're right. I should upload it. Anyway, I always wondered, like, if I lost everything for my show, like, what would I do? Would that be enough to make me think I don't want to do my show anymore? I don't think so. I don't think it would. But it would definitely suck. Now, if I was making a launch video and it was like almost all the way done and I lost everything, if I'm being honest, I feel like I would immediately restart it, because I feel like it's going to be easiest to redo all that stuff while it's all fresh in your memory.
Yes, yeah.
Because like when I'm making a launch video, I get excited. I'll find some some picture somewhere on the internet where it's like, oh, this would be perfect for right here. I find some video footage where, oh, that's going to be great right there. And a lot of it, I feel like I stumble across it. Just I spend so much time digging on the internet looking for stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like
it's like an accident to find it.
Yeah. And I feel like if I waited a long time, I wouldn't remember half of that stuff. So as much as I think it would suck, I think I would immediately redo it. And I would also say, the only video of mine that I've ever remade from scratch was that Genesis launch video. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed doing that. I know that's not super related to his question, but it was just like a video that I made that later on I felt like, wow, I really didn't do a very good job on that because I didn't know what I was doing. But I really, really enjoyed remaking that video.
I mean, that's something people ask us all the time, say, oh, will you remake this video with new updated information in it? Yeah. And that's like, no, We don't like that. Doesn't sound very fun. Like we'll do update videos to that, but we're not gonna replace a video and get rid of the private the old video and put this new version up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do that with every video on the channel probably, and I don't want to do that.
Oh yeah, 100%. All right, one more.
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay, this is from Byron. Byron hangs out in my Discord. Cool guy.
Oh, nice.
Byron lives in, I believe, in the Liverpool area in England. I love the podcast. It's such an easy listen. I think you could have a good back and forth with this question. So, here's my question for you. Which food or drink that's been discontinued or changed would you like to bring back? I already have an immediate answer, but I'm going to defer to you. Although you hate food, so I don't know if...
I'm never going to live that down.
You would just eat Soylent Green every day if they made it.
Well, I just thinking of things that have gone away, like food or drink.
Yeah. I can think of so much stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that as soon as we're done recording, I'll think of a bunch of stuff. But
well, here, let me go then, and then maybe
you go ahead. Maybe it'll spark some ideas.
Okay, so I've mentioned this on my show before, but my all-time favorite soda was Mandarin Orange Slice.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget which soda companies make which thing, right? Because there's Sprite and there's 7-Up,
but they're all Coke or Pepsi, but they're different.
Right. Well, I think 7-Up was, at least back then, was a separate company. But yes, it's Coke and Pepsi both have their own versions. There's Dr. Pepper and Mr. Pibb. There's Coke and there's Pepsi. There, whatever.
Yeah.
And so whichever one of the companies makes Sprite, and when I was a kid, the other company made something called Slice. And there was Lemon Lime Slice, which was the standard slice. And then there was Mandarin Orange Slice. And that was my favorite soda.
Okay.
And at some point, whatever the parent company was, for whatever reason, they felt like they needed a rebrand. Mm-hmm. And so they got rid of both slices and replaced it with something called Sierra Mist.
Okay. But now they got rid of Sierra Mist, and now they have another thing.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called, but I've already tried it. But yes, now Sierra Mist is gone. They have something else instead. But so I'm saying they got rid of Mandarin Orange Slice, but they didn't replace it with anything. They're just we're just not going to have orange soda anymore. And I thought that was the best orange soda. But I don't know how widespread it is around the U.S., but here in California, it's really easy to buy a lot of Mexican products.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mexican soda is really popular here because you can get Coke and it has real sugar in it instead of corn syrup. And then they have a famous line of sodas in Mexico called Jarritos.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all kinds. I don't think they make a cola, although I wouldn't swear to that, but they have all kinds of different flavors. And they make a Mandarin Orange. And to me, if I drink that tastes exactly like what I remember Mandarin Orange Slice tasting like.
So I wonder if they got the recipe for it or something.
Who knows? But then the other thing I was going to say was Ritz crackers. And you could extrapolate out what I'm going to say about Ritz crackers about lots of other things, but I'm just going to pick on Ritz because when I was a kid, that was my favorite cracker. My Nana always had Ritz crackers in her house, and she was always feeding them to me.
They still have Ritz crackers.
Can I finish?
Okay.
I don't remember when this was. It feels like at this point it was 20 years ago. They banned trans fats in foods in this country. Yeah. And certain foods just got changed and that are not as good anymore. And Ritz crackers, to me, the prime example. You can eat a Ritz cracker and it's still fine.
Mm-hmm.
But Ritz crackers, back when they had trans fats in them, were on a whole different level of deliciousness.
Well, it's similar to that situation is Twinkies. Twinkies don't taste nearly as good as they used to.
Is that because a banning of a certain kind of fat, or is that because Hostess kind of went away and came back?
It could be both, as far as I know. I don't know the details of it. I just know that when I had a Twinkie in the last couple of years, this is not nearly as good as it used to be.
Yeah. Twinkies are just not my go-to. If I want,
if
I want a Hostess product, I can think of several other Hostess.
Like a ho-ho?
like ho-hos or chocodiles or those cupcakes with the little thingy on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Twinkies or
where do you fall on Swiss rolls? You like Swiss rolls?
You can't really get those as much around here because those are Little Debbie, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean they're basically interchangeable. I think Little Debbie and they all like are the same thing.
Yeah,
basically.
Speaking of baked things, I thought of another big one. Mm-hmm. Entenmann's crumb cake.
Okay, well, I mean, you can get Entenmann's around here, but you're right.
Okay, because what happened was Entenmann's got bought out by a huge bakery conglomerate, and what really grinds my gears is that it got bought out by a company called Bimbo, which is a Mexican. It's like we have like Wonder Bread or whatever, here. Like Bimbo is like that in Mexico. Like it's like the biggest bread conglomerate or whatever down there, and they bought Entenmann's.
Okay.
And there's literally a gigantic Bimbo facility right over in Sacramento where they bake the stuff.
They're just cranking out the Bimbos.
Yes, exactly. But they decided at some point that they just weren't going to sell the full-size crumb cakes like in the Western United States. Like if you go back east, you just go to the grocery store and
maybe
bam,
I should get one and send you one. When I send you that
I don't know. I don't know if that would ship well because it would get. I don't know. I appreciate the thought. I don't know how that would go. If you want to try it, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah,
but the only thing you can get here is they sell these little individually wrapped personal Entenmann's crumb cakes, and they're okay.
But who's just going to eat just one of those?
It's not the same.
You want the whole thing. You want to be able are you like me where you like to say, I'm just going to have this little piece?
Yeah, and then you do that 20 more times.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah.
Exactly. Or it's when you could have just cut out the whole thing. It's less calories when you do it that way,
That's what I say, yeah. But no, I had to go to Connecticut for work. This was 10 years ago or something. I had to go to Connecticut for work, and it was the first I got off the plane. I went to my hotel to check in and drop off my stuff. I had a rental car from the airport, and literally the first thing I did, I got back in the car and I went to the nearest grocery store. And I bought an Entenmann's crumb cake and brought it back to my hotel room. And I don't think that the entire thing didn't last 24 hours.
I'm going to see if I can send you one.
All right. You can try. Like I said, I don't know how that's going to go. It's going to be bouncing around in that box.
I don't know what it, on this similar question, on the subject of this question, I don't know why I was thinking about it recently, but I was thinking about, remember pizzerias, the chips?
Yeah, those were good.
Yeah, it was almost as if I knew this question would be coming up at some point in the future. Because I just randomly thought about pizzerias.
Those were Keebler.
Okay, yeah. What about did Keebler do potato skins? Is potato skins still a thing?
I don't think it is. I want to say that was Keebler. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, but no, I remember potato skins. Those were also very good.
Yeah. Why'd they get rid of either of these? Maybe it's trans fats. Maybe they had trans fats in them.
Maybe, I don't know. Trans fats are the key to happiness.
Yeah.
So, of course, that and incandescent light bulbs both have to go because otherwise I might be happy.
We would have to come up with one other one to make that a trifecta of.
Yeah.
Keep
Man,
it.
I thought of one more thing, and now it left my. Oh yeah. Okay, so the cup of noodles. There's the Maruchan brand.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones that Russia's. It's called Instant Lunch. They used to have this one that was really good. It was called California Vegetable. Because I'm not a vegetarian by any means. I love meat, but I mean the little pieces of meat you get in those things are pretty suspect. You know what I'm saying?
There's no way that they're actually meat. They're just
even the little shrimp ones. I'd rather not have that. But the meat ones, these little sponges, and it's not really bringing anything to the table. And I feel if you go to an Asian store, Asian grocery store, you can get lots of cup of noodles that don't have any meat in them. But for some reason here, not so much. But they used to have this one. It was California Vegetable, and it had all kinds of dehydrated vegetables in it, and it was really, really good. But they quit selling that. Oh, and speaking of Maruchan ramen, they had a stovetop one that was chicken mushroom. And that was my go-to if I was sick. I don't know why. It's like if I had a cold and I ate just like the cheap, 10 for $1, Maruchan stovetop noodles, if I got that chicken mushroom, I don't know.
That was all you needed.
That was like my sicky time comfort food.
Yeah. My kids really like the Maruchan, like the wafers you can get. I mean, is that the only way that they're made, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the stovetop ramen.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. I mean, they really like the ramen.
I like the pork one. That's the one I always get.
Yeah. I mean,
but I miss chicken mushroom.
Chicken mushroom. See, if I liked mushrooms, mushrooms are one of the things that along with olives, that I don't like at all. I will actively avoid. Yep.
All right. Anyway, you've been listening to episode 20. Here's my question for you. And we still got the Twitter. I don't really use it too much anymore. I quit. I'm just too lazy to make the shorts and stuff, and I don't think it really does anything.
Yeah.
I think the show, we're gaining, slowly. We're gaining audience. We're getting more subscribers.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just keep doing what we're doing.
We got to have some high-powered guests on here to really boost it.
Helped a little bit. We got a little Linneman bump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, the number one thing you should do... Actually, I got two things. I got a request. First of all, you should send your questions to here'smypodcast@gmail.com. But another thing, we're 20 episodes in, and I've never, ever said this. So I want a little bit of credit for this. If you're listening to the show on the Apple, iTunes podcast, whatever app, or the Google Play Store, if you could leave the show a review, because lots of reviews helps move the show up in the algorithm. 20 episodes, which is probably 35 hours of show, and not once have I ever asked anybody to leave a review. So
until now.
Yes, and I'll wait until episode 40 until I bring it up again. How's that?
All right. Well, I think that's a good idea. Or we could just do it every 10 episodes. Request people.
I don't know if it even helps. It's a call to action.
You should tell all of your friends, who have no interest in listening to podcasts. I was
gonna say, I don't want my friends listening to the show. Really,
No,
people,
everyone else.
Someone at
I'm
work.
Saying all the listeners should tell their friends.
Yeah. Oh yes. You should tell your friends. I don't want to tell my friends. Somebody was in my office yesterday, and they said something about what was your YouTube channel called again? And I was just like, I don't really even want to tell you. I don't want you watching my show. I'm trying to keep my like Costanza. Yeah. I'm trying to keep my world separated.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to keep them separated.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, did you watch? I know we're trying to end the show, but since I'm repping him anyways, just the other day he uploaded. He's trying to finish off his podcast contract so he can stop making podcasts. But he did this show, and he doesn't upload all of them to YouTube, but some of them, it was like how to write an Offspring song.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good one. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
If anybody has any contact with Pat Finnerty, they should tell him that he should be on this show and hang out with us for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just because we want to.
I don't know. I think he's so much more charismatic than we are that he
maybe that would be
he
really
would just take over the show.
That's okay though. It'd be funny.
It is. Yes, it would be. I mean.
Here's my question for you. We take pride in our lack of charisma. Our lack of personality is to our benefit.
One time, this was many years ago, but somebody was, I guess, trying to get under my skin about my show. Trying to troll me a little bit. But this was more advanced level trolling. They took a screenshot of me. You remember I used to, at the intro to my show, way back in the day, I would be sitting in the corner of my room with the game shelf behind me.
Yeah.
I'd have a microphone and be like, oh, today we're talking about, TNC surf designs. Somebody took that screenshot and photoshopped me out of it and put a wooden Indian. And I was like, I should be mad, but I have to take my hat off to that level of ingenuity. That's just very funny.
Yeah.
And then one time, a long time ago, that guy Alpha Omega Sin, he called me a charisma vacuum, which I thought was funny. Because, it wasn't completely off target, it took me a while to get to where I was comfortable, being in front of a camera or talking into a microphone.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is with everybody. I mean, I could make a whole thing about things that I've been called.
Yeah. And to be fair to Alpha Omega Sin, it was because like I was needling him about something on Twitter, and that was his reply. So it's not like he sucker punched me, Like right. I initiated that exchange. So
I mean,
no hard feelings on my end.
Whenever I get like mean comments like that, like I like to screenshot them and like send them to my wife.
Yeah.
And because I don't know if it like, because I'm just like, check this out, look at this is funny.
Yeah.
And sometimes she's like, oh man, that pisses me off.
Yeah. Well,
like sometimes when like some people can't resist like leaving multiple comments on multiple videos like in a row. Like imagine getting like that riled up. Like I gotta tell this person like funny. Repeatedly.
Like, how do you care that much?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think we said this like way back in the very early episodes. Like, if you feel like that, like do like literally anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you probably feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. That's going to do it.
Yep. We're done.
See you next time.